This has real impact on everyday Americans. Let's break down what this government shutdown means, from delayed paychecks to cutbacks in services. And joining us now is certified financial planner Bobbi Rebell from cardrates.com to talk about this impact and maybe ways you can prepare for this. Bobbi, thank you for joining us. Let's start with the basics. Who would be furloughed and which services might be most effective at this point?
Well, first, good morning, and thank you for having me. And you're right, there's a very human side to this, and hundreds of thousands of workers are waking up today without a paycheck coming in the mail whenever they get paid. And so you have people that are deemed non-essential; they are not going to be asked to work without pay. And if you are a government worker, it is in the law that you're going to eventually get paid. So these are delayed paychecks, but of course, that is something to think about. If you're considered an essential worker, you are expected to show up and you will not get paid. You will eventually get paid, but you're not going to be paid, but you are still expected to show up for work. So that's going to be frustrating for a lot of people and it will play out.
You're pointing out repeatedly essential workers. Who are
Mhm.
considered essential federal workers, and will they still be working, and will it be with reduced staff?
So, if you are considered an essential government worker, then you are expected to show up. So, that includes people like the TSA. In the past, they've shown up, but sometimes they call in sick. So, that remains to be seen. Also essential active military, border security, people like that. So, they are expected to show up because they are considered essential. But, like the non essential workers, for the most part, they're not going to be receiving paychecks. So, they're expected to work, but they will not be receiving paychecks for now. Again, they will get their back pay. So I want to just make sure that that is clear. Not the same case though if you are a contract government worker. So if you are, for example, someone who works as a janitor and you are through a contracted company, you are not necessarily guaranteed pay. Doesn't mean you won't get paid, but you are not guaranteed the same as an official federal worker. So, like I said, it's a very human thing that's happening to people that they have to work out on their own and figure out how they're going to make ends meet while these legislators figure this all out.
I know a lot of people would be concerned about their Social Security checks. Are they going to get those? What about Smithsonian museums? If I'm planning a trip to national parks, can you walk us through, Bobby, what people need to know about how those impacts are going to be felt?
So, generally, good news. When it comes to things like Social Security, you're going to get your checks. Don't worry about that. If you are filing for Social Security, let's say you're planning to put in your paperwork today, well, it might be delayed. So, that's not great. It will eventually get done. And same things for things like passports, visas, and all that. It could be delayed. You might have expected 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe it's going to be a little bit longer. We'll see how that plays out. The museums and national parks, also very interesting to see how it will play out. In theory, they should have very limited, if any, services, but there are some workarounds that, for example, the national parks have used in the past where they've used ticket receipts to keep the parks open, at least to a limited degree. And remember, sometimes national parks, you can't necessarily fully shut down. You can shut down things like a visitor's office, but if somebody simply wants to drive on to a national park and there is no fence or a barrier, they can do that. But of course, you're not going to have the support system, the emergency services necessarily on site at the same level that you would if you were going during a non government shutdown time. So be cautious if you're going to plan those trips. Know that you may not have the support services that you would normally have.
These delays in services, missing paychecks, for both federal workers and for people who have received federal benefits like Social Security, what can they do if they need to pay their bills until this whole situation with the shutdown is resolved?
Well, I want to reiterate that Social Security checks should go out as normal. The only impact would be if you are newly filing for Social Security, that paperwork might get slowed down. So if you're getting Social Security, you're going to get your checks. Now, if you're a government worker that's been furloughed, that check is going to be delayed. So you do have to put some steps in place. Know that you are clearly not alone in this. So if you go to somebody who you pay on a regular basis, your electric company, your credit card company, whatever it may be, tell them what's going on, tell them you're impacted. They will, in many cases, work with you. Maybe they can give you more time to pay that bill without a late payment. Maybe they can work out a different kind of payment plan. So it's really important to communicate with anybody that you are not going to be able to pay in full. And speaking of paying in full, I do want to emphasize no matter what, if you can, really pay attention to your credit rating, to your credit report. So if you cannot pay, for example, your credit card bill in full, pay the minimum on time. The most important thing that goes into your credit score is not ever missing a payment, never being late with a payment. So don't be late with a payment. If you can't pay it all on time, you'll make up ground later. It's not the best, but we're going to pick the least bad solution here.
All right, Bobbi Rebell, thank you for joining us on Connecting America.